The Himiway A7 Pro is a commuter's dream. We're talking mid-drive motor with a torque sensor, full suspension, integrated display, and all the little things that you want in a commuting focused e-bike, and it all comes in under $2,500. So let me show you everything there is about this bike. We're gonna take it on a ride on-road, a little bit of off-road. We're gonna do our hill climb test, and we're gonna see what this thing is capable of and if it's worth considering. Let's go. So the thing that caught my attention first with this bike was the full suspension, and you get an SR-SUNTOUR front fork, and it is a air fork. So you can fine tune the feel you want based on how heavy you are, how plush you want it to be. And it's really nice to see an air fork because you really don't see it that often, even at this price point. The front fork has 120 millimeters of travel, which is like verging on mountain bike levels of travel. Super nice. You're really not going to encounter anything in your day-to-day commute that's going to require more than the amount of travel that this fork gives you. This rear shock is also air and can be fine-tuned, adjusted, again, based on your weight or kind of the feel that you want. It seems to be quite plush out of the box, which I like for rear suspension. Suspension is often a place where you see brands cut corners to save money, but this is the main feature of this bike in my opinion, and something that sets it apart from the competition. You'll notice a lot of design elements borrowed from mountain bikes with this linkage suspension, this very mountain bikey frame design. I love the way it looks. It feels very clean, it feels very advanced, it feels very expensive. And I love the overall design of this bike. And you really do notice a big difference in ride feel with the full suspension. And I will talk about it more when I jump on the bike. For me, this is a really compelling reason to consider this over other bikes at the price, because I'm not sure how many other bikes at this price offer such a great suspension setup for less than $2,500. So this comes with a 500 watt mid-drive torque sensor motor. And the benefit of a mid-drive motor is that your pedal strokes are assisted rather than the motor turning the wheel like it would on a hub drive motor. This gives the sensation of actually riding the bike more than being pushed along by the bike. And for most people, this is the superior option. I do really like it. If you're looking for power, then a hub drive is definitely the way to go. But if you're looking for finesse and feel, then a mid-drive motor like this is the way to go. And so far it feels really good. I would have liked maybe just a touch more power, but 500 watts is sufficient and you'll be fine in pretty much any situation you'll find yourself in. So this comes with a Shimano Alivio drivetrain, and it is a 9-speed, which is quite unique. Typically you see 7-speed bikes, and I believe you get one extra chain on the low end and you get one extra chainring on the high end. So you get a little bit more power at the top speeds. You won't have that pedaling in place feel. And then for steeper hills, you get a few extra teeth to maximize your torque going up the hill. Shimano drivetrains are pretty good out of the box. This derailleur has been a little bit chunky for me. I think it's because it has a little bit wider range on this cassette. And so some of the shifts are a little chunky, but overall it's been pretty smooth, and you can dial things in with these adjustment screws if it gets really bad. You get 27.5-inch wheels. These are 2.4-inch wide tires, and they are very much cruiser tires. They don't really seem to be designed for any sort of dirt riding or off-roading despite having the full suspension. But you could always change them out if you want to do more gravel riding, dirt trail riding, that kind of stuff. This is a 48 volt 15 amp hour battery that can be charged either in the bike or can be popped out and charged elsewhere. And they managed to keep this pretty small and keep this down tube relatively small, while also keeping the battery large enough to get 30 to 50 miles on a charge. The cockpit on this bike is super clean. You have the really nice integrated center display here, fully color. The sun's really bright out here, but it is fully visible to me. I can see it with no issues. You also have your shifter over here, again 9-speed, and then you've got your throttle here. This can only be activated when the bike is moving. A little annoying because I sometimes like to start with the throttle and then go into pedaling, but not a huge deal with a torque sensor. So you get 5 riding modes, and I found that, like with most torque sensor bikes, you can just kind of put it in the highest riding assist mode, and it'll measure how aggressively you're pedaling, and then you don't have to think too much about adjusting the pedal assist modes. You can just focus on shifting into the correct gear. You also get hydraulic Shimano disc brakes, which are really nice. They were a little finicky initially with the sensor. I had to adjust the sensor. So if your bike doesn't pedal out of the box, like the motor doesn't activate, then go ahead and check these sensors on the bottom and adjust them if you need to, and that should fix the issue. Other than that, the brakes have been great, and they've got both that nice soft adjustment feel for when you're making small little changes in your speed, and then they've also got that strong bite for that emergency lockup braking. So one of the most interesting parts of this bike is all the little commuting touches, all the little extra features that they've included standard on this bike for people who are regularly hauling things around and needing to lock up their bike and that kind of stuff. And that starts with this rack, 25 kilogram rack. I believe that's about 60 pounds, something around there. And it feels really solid. It isn't welded to the frame, but it is bolted on really securely. And it comes with these super cool straps. So you don't have to install your own straps or use tie downs or anything if you're hauling something around. Just built in, super nice little extra feature. It also comes standard with this ABIS lock built in. I would still chain up my bike if I was leaving it, but it is, I think it's a cool consideration. And if you're just running in somewhere, it is simple to just pop the key in, lock it down so it can't be rolled away. If you're doing something like DoorDash or Uber Eats or any sort of food delivery, it's something that would maybe give you a little bit of peace of mind without having to fully chain up your bike somewhere. So another cool little feature is this seat post. It's small, but you can press this down and make adjustments to the seat height on the fly without having to unbolt something or fuss with it too much. You can literally just adjust it even while sitting directly on it. It's all these little things that add up really quick that really make this bike feel polished. It makes it feel special, and it makes it feel like you're actually getting your money's worth, you know, when you're buying an electric bike. So the streets are this bike's native habitat. Despite the full suspension, this really is tuned and dialed in to be the best commuter bike you can possibly get. So this is where it's gonna live most of the time, on smooth streets. The nice part is that when you do encounter cracks or bumps or imperfections in the sidewalk, you have that full suspension. Is it a little overkill for street riding? Absolutely, but you're getting value for your money at this price. I'll show in a second, but even off-road, it's really capable despite the commuter style tires. Power-wise, it's not gonna, you know, knock the helmet off of your head when it accelerates, but it is plenty for someone who is just looking to get to where they're going as comfortably as possible. Out of the box, you get class 2 speeds, 20 miles an hour. Feels like a really good speed for the way this is geared. That rear suspension is a little overly plush. Like when you do your pedal strokes, you'll feel the suspension going down and up, but that can be dialed out. This front suspension fork with 120 millimeters of travel, again, way overkill, but any sort of bumps, stuff like speed bumps, you can totally just accelerate through and you don't have to worry. For some speed bumps, I've just stayed fully seated. That's how good this suspension is. North Americans really, really like suspension on their commuter bikes. It's one of the reasons why some early commuter bikes that were introduced to the North American market by companies like New, they introduced no suspension on their bikes and thought, you know, most people, you know, don't need suspension because they're riding on the street. Well, you know, we North Americans, we like to see the suspension. We like those extra bonus features. Himiway recognized that and gave the commuter, the average North American commuter, exactly what they wanted. It's kind of the story with this bike. This feels like someone rounded up people and got legitimate customer feedback on things they want. They want a good rack, they want full suspension, they want mid-drive, they want a 9-speed drivetrain, you know, they want a throttle, they want it to look good, you know, they want it to look like the big brands, like the Specialized and the high-end Aventins and the high-end Rad Power bikes, like, and this has the polish and the features to that, and it's really impressed me. It's honestly been a fantastic bike. And other than the small little things with, you know, maybe feeling like I need a little tiny bit more power, and with the brake sensor adjustments, just little things that you have to, you know, deal with out of the box. Other than that, I've had no issues with it. Feels fantastic, it looks fantastic, and you know, we're in a very privileged position here at Rider Guide to be able to get these to review for free, right? Like, they send these out for us to use, and we obviously always give you guys our honest opinions on them. But this is a bike that I would legitimately seriously consider spending out-of-pocket money to get. That's how much I like it, and that's how much it's impressed me so far. If I was a regular commuter that needed to go to work and my work was within 5 miles of me, I would absolutely get something like this for my day-to-day commute. The suspension also allows you to do stuff like this, go off a curb. Honestly, barely felt that. You could probably go off that curb without having to lift off of the seat at all. Okay, we're at the Rider Guide hill climb test. This is a timed test. This is a 6-degree, 10.5% slope. And we're gonna see how fast it does it first with pedaling, and then we'll do throttle only. So I am in pedal assist mode 5, gear 1, and we'll up the gears from there. So here we go. Ready, 3, 2, 1. And time. Okay, so that first test was starting in gear 1. I'm gonna start in gear 4, which is the gear that I ended in at the top of the hill, and see if I can actually save some time by not having to shift all the way up the hill. 3, 2, 1, go. Maxing out like 16 miles an hour. Time. That had to have been faster, right? Okay, now we're gonna do the throttle only. So with this, I have to start pedaling and then I need to activate the throttle. So I'll do a couple pedals till I get to about 5 miles an hour, and then I'll hit the throttle for the rest of the time. Throttle only, 3, 2, 1, go. Time. Yeah, it didn't go faster than 10 miles an hour with just the throttle. So what does this tell us? One, this tells us that my suspicions about 500 being a little bit low are correct. I think a 750 watt motor would have been nice, but it's kind of the only thing on this bike that hasn't really lived up to or exceeded my expectations. So there are definitely bikes with larger motors at this price. I don't know if you can get a 750 watt mid-drive motor at this price. You can definitely get 750 watt hub drives, but you get the benefits of this mid-drive motor in exchange for a little less power than you would with a hub drive. And pedaling, I still saw really great results. Top speed of 16 miles an hour on a 10% grade hill. Seems really good. Okay, so because it has the suspension for it, I wanted to give it a little bit of an off-road test. You know, it's clearly not meant for mountain biking. It's clearly not even really meant for like camping. This is very much a commuter, but it's kind of good to see what it's capable of just for any situation. So we're out in this wash basin with just some dirt trails, and even those rocks, which is basically the biggest obstacle, the suspension felt really good. I didn't have to stand up at all. That rear suspension really soaked up all the bumps really nicely. Even with the tires at 50 PSI and with the tread for a cruiser style bike, traction feels really decent. It honestly, there's not a ton of crazy bumps, but it's soaking everything up really nice. This front suspension is 120 millimeters. Really impressive amount of travel for a bike like this. And the rear, I believe, is either 40 or 60 millimeters. Again, really decent travel, all things considered. Feels really comfortable. You get a lot of the same feel and comfort as a fat tire e-bike without having to deal with the big, bulky, fat tires. See how much speed we can get here. You can basically get up to the top speeds. No issue. I'm gonna slow down a little for this rocky section, but honestly, that's going to be able to handle just anything that you throw at it when it comes to a regular, day-to-day commute. So there you go. That was my experience with the Himiway A7 Pro. I'm really, really loving this bike. I actually have been using it as my commuter. So any sort of errands that I have to run, I've been using this a lot over the past week, and I'm going to definitely continue to use it because of how much I like it. I think it is one of the best commuter bikes I've ever tried, and I'm really impressed with it. You can check it out at the link below. Leave any questions or comments you have for me down below. Thanks for watching as always. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more e-bike, e-moto, e-skate, all things electric wheeled devices. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.